Hey guys, how is everybody this morning? This is your buddy Choppadong coming at you again with a slate breakdown video for what is March 20th. We're getting close to the end of the NHL season. I want to thank you guys all for the subscribes and the likes and the video watching that you've been doing as we've shifted over a little bit to YouTube and following the DFSArmy.com. You guys have become VIPs. The Army's growing and we're getting the word out that we are the best place on the internet for daily fantasy content and advice. Come into our Slack chat forums as a VIP and get access to all of our coaches and all of the sports that we cover, from basketball to football to baseball to hockey to esports to soccer to whatever it is you want to play. We've got it covered, and we've got some experts and some coaches in every one of those fields there to give you advice and make you build better lineups. So follow the description, the link in the description, dfsarmy.com. Follow me on Twitter at Choppadong, and let's get this slate breakdown rolling. I want to spend some time on lineup construction at the end again. So let's dive in. We'll skim through the slate really quick. The thing I'm going to tell you is there are 5 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Game 5 is the only one I'm fading. The others, you can make cases for any of the other skaters across any of the other teams in the league. Tonight, the reason I'm going to start with Edmonton and LA. Edmonton may have won their last 3 games, but I want to point out why this game is not so great. You look at Ben Bishop and you see that he's lost 4 in a row, and you think, oh, Edmonton's in a good spot because Bishop sucks. Bishop doesn't suck. Bishop has given up fewer than 2 goals in each of his last 4 starts. So what that tells me is it isn't Bishop that's the problem. It's the Kings. The LA Kings cannot support their goalie. They're just not scoring a lot of goals lately. Based on that, and the fact that Edmonton is not a super soft offensive team or defensive team, they're not a Dallas, they're not a Toronto, both of whom are on the slate tonight. They're not exactly scoring a lot of points. They're not bailing their goalie out. Their goalies are giving them a chance to win. It's the skaters that can't help the goalies. That's bad for fantasy. Don't target these skaters. You look over at Edmonton and you think, well, okay, that means Edmonton might win the game tonight. Not so fast. Cam Talbot may be a good goalie, but Edmonton is going up against LA, who's the premium defensive team in the league right now. They allow the fewest shots on goal, and they're a bottom 5 team as far as fantasy points allowed. So you've got a mediocre offense going against a great defense. They're not going to score a lot of points either. This game wouldn't surprise me to go 2-1 or 1-0, and I don't want any part of that for fantasy. The others you can make a case for. So let's start up here at the top. The highest over-under total of the game in Boston and Toronto. Couple of things to tell you. As far as points scored, Boston's a pretty powerful offense. Toronto gives up points. But what I will tell you is that Toronto's goalie has been playing well lately in Frederik Andersen. He's 4-2 in his last 6. He's allowed less than 4 goals in his last 10 starts. So that may suppress Boston a little bit. The chalk will be here as far as skaters are concerned. And if you are more of a contrarian GPP guy, you might take a couple of Toronto guys or jump over to a different game entirely, because you might bank on the fact that Boston's not going to score but about 2 goals tonight, and you might be right. Now, they might score a bunch because Toronto tends to give up points. We just don't know. It depends on what Anderson does. It depends on how that affects the Boston offense. So you're going to have to take a chance one way or the other. You jump over into the Buffalo and the Detroit game. And this one is a weird one because the Vegas line has dramatically shifted in this game. It started off very, very favorable to Buffalo at like a -140, -150, something like that. And it just all of a sudden jumped, bam, and went over here. A bunch of money came in on Detroit and pushed them to now the favorite team of the two, which is really, really odd. It's a big dramatic shift. And when something that bad shifts, I usually take notice, and I'll believe the public over Vegas. They know somebody knows something somewhere. And that's where they're putting their money now. So I might be leaning more towards Detroit in this game. Buffalo gives up a ton of points. Buffalo scores points. They fire pucks at nets. They also give up pucks, being shot at their own net. They're a top 10 offense in the league, but they're a bottom 3 off defense in terms of how soft they are. That puts Detroit in a good spot. Buffalo might do their own thing and do some scoring. But then when we look at at Buffalo and Lehner, they're 1-5 in their last 6 starts. That might have something to do with it. We look over at Peter Mrazek. How's he been doing? Would he suppress the Buffalo offense at all? And I look at his last 6 games, and his goals against are 4-4, 3-3, 4-3. So it looks like Buffalo's going to score some goals tonight too. This one shouldn't be Vegas knows more than I do, but this shocks me that it's a 5. It seems to me like this would be the game that would kind of blow up and go both ways. So I would probably be targeting this game myself personally because there's some value on both sides. What I like to do, and we'll get into more with the discussion, the construction discussion, is I like to take in cash games, in GPPs you want to focus on stacking an entire line. You need all of those points. You need them to score 3 goals, and you need to get every piece of all 3 of those goals to win a GPP. But in cash games, you want to spread out a little bit. You want to spread your risk out. The risk is that there's going to be 3 or 4 goals scored by Detroit tonight, and you don't know where they're coming from. They could come from line 1, 2, 3, maybe even line 4 throws in a goal. They may not all come from line 1. In a GPP, I want to bank on it coming from line 1, stack line 1 or line 2 or whatever, and have it all come from that same line. But in cash games, I don't know where it's coming from, so I want to spread out a little bit and take a couple skaters off of each line. I like overlapping them on the power play, like a Zetterberg and a Nielsen. That would be awesome. Because if the power play does the scoring, I still get 2 pieces of it. But if the even strength does the scoring, I've got pieces of 2 lines here. And so I don't care where the goal comes from as long as it comes from one or the other. Another way I like to do it is a little bit more risky, but it's a way to go, is take Zetterberg and Tartar here and stack them in a little mini stack of 2 guys. You've got the line 1 stack where that should be most of your production night in and night out, yet they differentiate a little bit on the power play. So you get a little bit of the power play too. If it happens to score the goal that night, you might get a piece of it with Tartar. So you kind of spread out a little bit in cash. You tighten up your focus in GPPs, and that's kind of how you play fantasy hockey. So if you take both sides of this game and took, say, an Eichel and Ennis, and then took a Zetterberg and Tartar, you got both line 1s stacked, and you've got both the exposure to both power play units. You've done a pretty good job. Scroll down to Arizona and Nashville. Nashville's where my focus would be in this one. Pekka Rinne will be your chalk goalie. And there's still a lot of value on the Nashville side of things. Arizona is 10-20 on away from their home ice. They've won 10 games. They've lost 20 all year. So they lose twice as often as they win. That's a large portion of why this is here. They do score some goals, but they don't score as much away from home. That leads us to Nashville, who should score some goals tonight. But in the last 4 games, I mean, if you really, really want to break it down, in the last 4 games, Pekka Rinne has given up 4 goals or more in 3 of his last 4. So if you're a tournament guy, Arizona's not a bad place to look tonight too. You do some little Arizona, little Toronto, hope both games go the other way, and you're sitting pretty in a tournament. In cash games, you just take the odds. You just roll with Nashville and Boston and keep moving. You might take some San Jose. Dallas gives up a ton of points. San Jose's in a great spot. This line is trending towards San Jose's favor. It opened at a minus 125, 130, something like that. It's trending up in San Jose's direction. Dallas is the 4th softest defense in the league in terms of giving up fantasy points, and San Jose was bottom 3rd. Now they're middle of the pack, which means they're trending upward. You take a team that's trending upward and put them into a soft defense, and it's kind of a game that is very conducive to this team doing a lot of scoring. So I do like San Jose tonight. I don't mind Dallas, because Dallas can score points too, but I do like San Jose. Both these goalies have been fairly solid, though, so you might temper your expectations a little bit. In their last 10 games, both goalies have allowed 3 or fewer goals. So this game might not go 6-5. It might go 2-3, 3-2, something like that, which is fine for fantasy, but it's not maybe going to blow up and win your entire night for you. So, again, temper your expectations a little bit, and we're off of this game. So now I've got halfway through. I can jump into a little bit of lineup construction for you. The first thing I like to do is take top goalie, just because it chews up the most of my salary. If I need to save salary on goalie, I can do that a little bit later by dropping down here Tuukka Rask or something like that if I need to. He's not a goalie I'm targeting tonight, as you just heard. But I throw in the top goalie first, and then I kind of move on from there. Now I'm looking to bring my average salary up because I want to get some studs in my lineup. So with the 5,200 as an average salary, I need to find something well below that. So where do I go? I go to the player page. I sort out by 4 weeks. And I'm looking for about a 2/3 ratio. So if I can find somebody on the right hand side here, fantasy points, that's scoring at least 2 fantasy points for every 3,000 that I spend, then I've just found him in McCabe here at 3.35 average points scored. So I go and I find McCabe and I plug him in because I know he's been bringing value hard lately. Now I know that guy should bring me 1.5, 2 points of value, and I should be fine in a cash game, and I'm cheap, and my average salary just jumped $300 from 5,200 to 5,500. I know another one was Chychrun, because I already did a little bit of research tonight, and so there's 2. I don't always do 2 cheap defensemen, but these 2 are doing, are bringing value. They're bringing 2.5 to 3 points on average, so I've got a good base of which to go. My salary's coming up. Another one that I noticed out of Boston, they are in a good spot, is Zdeno Chara. So now I rarely do 3 defensemen, but look at my average salary, 6,300. So now I can really start picking from some studs because I've got my floor, my base, my bottom of my lineup built, and now I'm having fun spending money on studs for my wings and my centers and my upside. If I jump up to say page 2, I can find some value in here in some of these greener guys, since I need more like 2.5 to 3 points out of a 4.2 salary to get my 2/3. I might look at Drew Stafford. I might look at Morgan Riley. I might look at Dylan Larkin. I might look at certainly at John Klingberg, and maybe I would upgrade one of my defensemen. I might look at Ryan Ellis and upgrade a defenseman. I might look at Totter. Totter's been running pretty doggone good. So when I go back here, like I was telling you before, in Detroit, Zetterberg and Totter's a fun way to go. Zetterberg's a good cash play most nights, and Totter's been running good lately. They share the same line. They might set each other up or score a goal, and they're opposite on the power play a little bit. So if both power plays do some scoring, I might have access to it. So since I like that, we'll see what this does for my average salary here. Throw Zetterberg in there, throw Totter in there. Then now my average salary is $6,700 for 3 remaining spots. Do you think I can spend that? Do you think that's going to be hard to spend? I don't even need page 2 anymore, do I? 5.2. That's like bargain basement stuff for me right now. I'm looking to spend $7,000. So I'm going to look up here. Who's been rolling good lately? Marchand, of course. Eichel. Patrice Bergeron. Let's go double stack Bergeron and Marchand. I know he's day to day. I might look into that a little bit later. But now Marchand. Now $5,600 for that wing. Scroll down to the wing. Van Riemsdyk, Marlowe out of San Jose, Tanner Pearson, Nylander out of Toronto. So I've got guys that I can continue to roll with if I want to. I can throw, Marlowe or Pearson in there and be done. If I want to, I can go a little bit cheaper if I found some guys down here. Komarov out of Toronto. Iginla out of LA has been okay lately. Let's say I threw him in there and I've got $1,900 left over. Now I can start upgrading. I can take out Zdeno Chara and I can go to my utility spot and I've got $5,900 left over for utility. So if I like this combo better, I can get exposure to Buffalo with O'Reilly. I can get Kadri in Toronto. Let's say I do that. I've evened up my salary. I'm done. Enter. Gone. Now I've got some double checking to do, and you really want to play with these lineups back and forth when you do this sort of stuff. But that's a quick way to build a lineup from the bottom up, and now you're accessing the studs at the top of your lineup, and you're having fun. Am I choosing between Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin? Or if the way most people do it from the top down, they end up having to punt at the very, very end of their lineup, and they're picking from the trashiest of the trashiest players for their last remaining spot. I would do it a little bit more reverse. I would find value in some of the cheaper guys on the slate. Sometimes it's a wing, most of the time it's a defenseman, and then I would load that up, and then I would start spending up and up and up and up as I go. Now I'm not happy with it again. Well, I'm not happy with the way this lineup is, but I just wanted to show you a quick way to kind of get that in and get that done. So point is, go to the description at the bottom, follow us. You'll talk a lot more with us one-on-one. You'll get little coaching tips like this. You'll become a better player. You'll have more fun doing it, in my opinion, because you'll have a bunch of friends rooting you on and whatnot. So DFSarmy.com is the place to be, and you can also find me on Twitter at Chapadong. So roster up, guys, and rub my faces in it when you kick my ass. Peace out.